Jenna Ortega's character Ellie was an individual that appeared in season 2 of the show and was most known for being Delilah's younger sister and the young person that Joe looked out for, similar to Paco from season 1. Delilah was an individual who Joe had a genuine friendship with and became a victim of loves due to the jealousy that she had for Joe. Right at the end of season 2, with Joe saying how he was going to send payments to Ellie following her finding out what happened to her. However, with us not hearing anything from Ellie in the past couple of seasons and it being rumored that she may return, I thought I'd take a look at the character and see how she could return and if she will. So let's get into it. Here is how Ellie will return in You Season 4 Part 2. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Why Ellie wasn't in Season 4 Part 1. When it came to the first part of the 4th season of You, I think it's safe to assume that we didn't really expect Ellie to be in it. However, following on from the Season 4 Part 2 trailer being released and there being an incorporation of Love and Beck, it's the first time in a long while that we're seeing characters from previous seasons return. Well, it turns out that Jenna Ortega's character Ellie was actually supposed to make an appearance in this season of the show, something which I imagine would have caused a large storm and provided an extra level of threat for Joe, depending on in which capacity the plan for her to be included was. Despite Jenna Ortega actually saying that she does one day hope to return to the show as Ellie again, the main reason as to why she didn't appear in Season 4 Part 1 was due to the fact that she was filming the show Wednesday, a show that went on to have huge viewership and most probably propel her career to new heights, so it's understandable as to why she didn't. She had more important things to be doing that clashed. With the creators of the show saying that the mere fact that she's still alive and has information on Joe, his killings, and the true person that he actually is, the creators of the show have got potential ideas on how she could one day return in the future, if not in Season 4 Part 2, then in a season further down the line. With the creators saying this, it does also make me think that we know that Joe is going to survive for the foreseeable and get away with all that he's done. As if they're already thinking about future seasons, that means that Joe will probably be fine for the time being, as without Joe there's no show. But we're not here for that. Let's get back to Ellie. One of the main questions that I myself and I imagine many others have most probably had since the end of Season 2 is the question, is Joe still sending Ellie money? In terms of if Joe is still sending money to Ellie after she's moved away, I think the answer to that is yes. Whilst we've not seen Joe take time out of his day in order to do so when he's been on screen, Joe is an individual that when he cares about somebody, he doesn't abandon them. Joe even said, "I won't abandon you," one of the last times that he spoke with Ellie before she walked off. So even though he's gone through all of this trauma and trouble since killing Love, going after Marion and then moving to London, I don't think he'd let her down. Joe sees himself in these individuals, whether it's Paco, Ellie, and I imagine Nadia in this season, so I think he's still doing it. As well, if he didn't, then I imagine Ellie would have most likely alerted the authorities on Joe Goldberg and the fact that he's alive and that he killed Henderson, as that's the extent of the information that she knew, which would be a big problem for Joe. So for his best interest, I imagine he has and will continue to be doing so. The creators have also confirmed that Joe is still sending her money, even though it's not been referenced at all in the show. Personally, I would have liked to have seen him still doing it, just even as a reference or a nod to know if it was confirmed. How could Ellie return? So then, when it comes to Season 4 Part 2, how could we see Ellie return? Well, I believe there are a couple of different ways. The first possible option would be by appearing in a hallucination along with Beck and Love. The main reason as to why she couldn't appear in the first part was because it was being filmed in London. There's no reason as to why the hallucination scene couldn't have been filmed over in the States and on a location where all of the actors who are featuring in it would be able to get to. The hallucinations that Joe has had in the past have incorporated people that he's had pre-existing relationships with, such as his mother and also Candice. And then the ones that are coming up in You Season 4 Part 2 look like they're set to include Beck and Love. So I don't think there's any reason as to why Ellie wouldn't be able to appear in the next part, especially when it comes to Joe most likely feeling guilty about his actions. If Delilah appears alongside Beck and Love, then it could also increase the chances of Ellie appearing. If it wasn't for Joe bringing the Quinns into Ellie and Delilah's life, then Delilah wouldn't have been killed and Ellie would still be continuing on with her life in LA, instead of fleeing to Florida or as far east as she possibly went, believing that people were after her. So Ellie may well appear as part of Joe's guilty conscience as a visual manifestation like we're set to see with the other characters. With this scene maybe not needing to be within London, they may have been able to find a slot that aligned with the show's schedule and also Jenna Ortega's. The only other way that I could see Ellie returning in Season 4 Part 2 would be if they incorporated Ellie's character on screen from a virtual perspective or an audible perspective. And the way I think that this would be made possible would be if they connected it to the story that focused on the payments that Joe sends through to Ellie. With all of the events that are going on in London with Joe, Kate, Reese and the Eat the Rich killer, he may forget to send some payments through to Ellie. This in turn could see Ellie reach out to Joe by phone, text or call, and she may confront him for a couple of different reasons. One could be focused on why he hadn't sent the money, but she may also be informing him that she's tired of hiding and is unhappy with her life in Florida. The last time we saw her, she said that she wanted Joe to burn in hell, so technically she doesn't owe Joe anything, especially loyalty. This could be the way in which she's introduced back into the show and is made a key focus in Season 5, which I believe could and should start the downfall of Joe Goldberg. With Joe's phone number and proof of contact over the past few years, she'd be able to prove that he was still alive and that he was in fact on the run and not dead, making him the key suspect for many of the murders, which would include Henderson and Love, and it could also open up the previous cases all the way back to Beck, so it would be a really interesting start to the downfall. When we last saw Ellie, she was almost 16, so by now she'd be around 19 if not older. So she's now old enough to make decisions for herself, to have matured, and to maybe have looked back on what happened when she was in LA with Joe, and felt like maybe he wasn't as honest as he possibly could have been. I think it would be good if Ellie did return in the next season of the show fully, and made a feature at the end of Season 4 Part 2. She'd be able to bring the story back to its roots and provide a slightly different version of the character that we came to know a few seasons back. I'd like to see an Ellie that would want answers and be present, rather than a feature in a hallucination, as because she's alive, she'd be able to offer a lot more than just a small feature. I guess we'll have to see if, how, and when she will return, but I'm holding out for March still. So, there you have it, how Ellie will return for You Season 4 Part 2. If you want to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. Would you like to see Ellie appear? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.